Hey guys, JGTutorials, and this is going to be my first Source SDK tutorials in a series. So yeah, Source SDK, if you don't know, is the map maker and mod tool of Hammer Editor is the map maker itself. Source SDK has Hammer Editor inside it, and it's for pretty much every Source game. For some special games like Left 4 Dead 2 or Alien Swarm or any Left 4 Dead, you would need to get a special version. But for games like Counter-Strike, Half-Life, TF2, even Gary's mod, you use the same Hammer Editor tool. So first, to get this, go to your Steam tab and go to your library. Okay, now once you're in your library, go to Tools and scroll down until you see Source SDK. You're going to want to install that. I already have it installed, and then just double click it when it's done installing, and it will launch. Okay, so now you'll see this window. After it'll prepare your files or whatever, it'll load for a little while. That's normal in your first try, and then this will come up after. If it doesn't, just reopen Source SDK, and you'll see all your tools. Engine version, make sure it's Source Engine 2009, and then select the game you are going to make a map for. So we're gonna do it with Counter-Strike. Yeah, so then once you have Counter-Strike and Source Engine 2009 selected, just double click the Hammer Editor to launch it. Then this will come up, it'll load, might take longer for the first time. So you'll just get this blank screen with your messages at the bottom. It should look like this. First, go to Tools, Options. Configuration should be Counter-Strike Source, and you can ignore all this stuff. General, put your autosave directory that you want here. You can browse for it. I like the one that's here by default. Hammer autosave, right on my drive. These you should keep like they are. 2D views. You want to display scroll bars and vertices, not models. Unless you do. Grid, you should use 64 or any other value of 2. I use 64 to start. Intensity, whatever, just leave that alone. Highlight every 8 grid lines is good. And pretty much, I just like all these settings here. So you could pause it here and look at them. 3D views. I like all these settings here too. You can look at these. Just pause it here. Materials. Just leave as it is. And build programs, you should just leave it as it is. Unless you have a custom compiler that you want to use, but that gets a little more in depth, and for now we're just going to be using the default. Let's go ahead and click OK once you've set everything. And now go to File, New. Okay, you'll see just grids here. You can hit Control+A to make them all the same size. And here, you might not see anything. So, first thing you want to do is Map, Entity Report. Go to, and then close it. And then it'll bring you like this. And now, this, I'll just show. Click on this window. But first, this one should be top XY. This should be side XZ. This should be front YZ. No. Go to View after clicking on this window. 3D textured polygons. Click that. Now, each of these tools has a different job. The buttons up here, this toggles the 3D grid that you could see here on your blocks, which I didn't place any yet. These two toggle the grid size, bigger and smaller. And then it should say Snap on Grid. If it says Snap off Grid, just go to Map, Snap the Grid. Oh, and you have to make sure Show Grid is checked. This is your magnifying glass tool. It just zooms in and out. Left click to zoom in, right zoom out. I just prefer using the mouse wheel though, that works too. This is your camera tool. When you have the camera tool selected, you can hold down your mouse button in the 3D view to look around. And you can place a point in which you want to look from the grid. But really, I prefer to just press the Z key and move around like this. To move in your 3D view, use your arrow keys and WASD keys. When you're in camera view, it's your WASD and mouse to look around. This is the entity placer tool, and it places entities. That's a player spawn. Info player terrorist. I'll leave a link in the description to all the entities found in Hammer Editor for Counter-Strike, just so you guys can know. This is your block tool, and you use this to just create blocks. What you do is you drag it, you make it on the grid with your mouse by clicking and dragging. And then once you have it, you press enter. I'm using custom textures. I'm going to use textures that you guys will have for now. I'll teach you about the texture application in a second, but yes, you make a block out of whatever texture is here. So yeah, this is to make blocks. Okay. Now this is the texture application tool, also known as the face edit sheet. This lets you edit single faces of blocks that you have. So let's say I wanted to make the bricks look bigger. I could bring the texture scale up of X and Y after clicking on any face. I can make this face have a different texture than all the others by clicking on it, hitting browse, picking another one that I want. Oh, and this is the texture finder. You could search for a texture if you want to, like I could search for glass. And I could select this one, and then hit apply. And I would have glass on one side, and bricks on all the other. This tool right here is the texture. It applies a texture to your selected block. So if I had this whole thing as bricks, and I wanted to change it to, let's say, this window. I have the window, I go to the browse on the textures group, click on the window that I want, click on the brick wall, oops, wrong button, and select this button. And now you just see a bunch of windows all over. This tool is used to place decals. You click on it, and then click where you want the decals to go, but not all textures are decals. If you want to find all the decals, search decal in your texture finder. Find one, and click. This will select the decal. Now this is an overlay tool. It does the same thing as decals, only it creates overlays instead. So I could just click anywhere, and it automatically makes a func overlay entity, which you can see there. This is the clipping tool right here. You use this to clip off pieces of the selected block. So I go to my select tool, click on a block, click on the clipping tool, and on my grid I select how I want to clip this tool. The highlighted area is the area that will stay once you use your clipping tool. You can click on the clipping tool again to select which areas will stay. Then hit enter when you're satisfied, and it chops it right like that. This last tool is the vertex manipulator. Select it and then select the brick that block that you want to use. Select the vertex anywhere on that block and click and drag it around. This lets you edit and manipulate all the vertices on your selected block. So that will conclude my first tutorial. This was all the basics. So yeah, watch tutorial number 2, our first room and spawn points. Thank you, and comment, rate, subscribe. It helps out a lot. See ya.